Well, if you ever doubted or wondered about the power of Maryland LCV, I just want you to look at the weather, okay? It's amazing, and we're so grateful. Whoever arranged the weather, thank you, thank you, thank you. We were, even as early as 8 o'clock this morning, it was not looking good. I'm Kim Coble. I'm the Executive Director of the Maryland League of Conservation Voters, and it is my honor to welcome you to our 20th anniversary of celebrating environmental leaders. Next month marks the end of my second year as Executive Director of Maryland LCV, and I couldn't be more proud of the work of our small but mighty team. So if you see someone that has a staff sign on their name tag, please thank them for an incredible job. I also am really, thank you, Lori. And I'm also really proud of the work that this group has done. We're looking forward to continuing that work in the year ahead, and I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge your very generous support of this organization in spirit, in financial support, and in being here. Thank you for asking a lot out of us. Thank you for asking us to be our best. And I will say that last year, after canceling our 2020 Environmental Leadership Awards, it is awesome to have it here and see you in person. That is a great step forward as well. As part of our program tonight, we'll be presenting our Legislator of the Year Award to Baltimore City's own Senator Cory Mcrae. And our coveted Kabler Environmental Leadership Award to environmental justice advocate, Dr. Sakobi Wilson. After the awards, and along with our awardees, we will be joined by our title sponsor, CEO of Ørsted Offshore North America, David Hardy, and one of our climate champion sponsors, CEO Jeff Eckel of Hannon Armstrong, for a climate conversation. Following our program, we get to the important but fun stuff. And that's where you can enjoy the waterfront, enjoy some fabulous food and drink, and network and mingle and continue the climate conversation with our panelists and with each other. Be sure and grab one of our signature cocktails, the Mover and Shaker Moscow Mule, as well. And back there, we have an information table. Please stop by and pick up our latest information, talk to our staff, and learn more and more about what we're doing. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the chair of Maryland LCV's Board of Directors, Lynn Heller. Lynn. And this is not my remarks, but I will tell you personally, a personal hero of mine. Lynn has been a longtime supporter of our organization, and her passion lies in solving the climate crisis in an inclusive and equitable way. As the founder and CEO of the Climate Access Fund, a Baltimore-based organization that uses innovative financing to reduce the energy burden on low-income Maryland residents through clean energy. Prior to launching the Climate Access Fund, Lynn served as vice president of the Able Foundation, where she oversaw the foundation's operations and managed the foundation's environmental grants portfolio. Lynn is a former member of the Baltimore Sustainability Commission and the Maryland Commission on Climate Change. Please join me in welcoming Lynn.
Thank you, Kim, and welcome everyone. As you just heard, I'm Lynn Heller. I am the board chair of Maryland League of Conservation Voters, and I am especially pleased to welcome you tonight to a live in-person event, which is very exciting for all of us, particularly because we had to miss this event last year, and B, to Baltimore. Yes. This is, as some of you may know, this is the first time that Maryland LCV has held this event outside of Annapolis, and we are very excited to be welcoming you here to Baltimore on such a lovely evening so that we can enjoy this wonderful spot thanks to the Living Classrooms Foundation and the Douglas Myers Maritime Park. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Holding this event outside of Annapolis is emblematic actually of other changes that have occurred at Maryland LCV since our last event 2 years ago. We are so fortunate to have Kim Coble having joined us as Executive Director. She is a true leader. She brings extraordinary experience and commitment to the environment and to this organization, and I can say with confidence that staff and board alike would all unanimously agree that it has been a tremendous pleasure working with her. Since Maryland LCV's founding in 1979, we have been the political voice for the environment. Elected officials, decision makers, and the media turn to us as a credible voice about environmental issues, including environmental justice. Through our Chispa Maryland program, we work to ensure that Maryland's Latinx families and community leaders have a powerful voice for protecting our shared environment. We've built strong relationships with Latinx families, community groups, and faith-based organizations. I want to particularly welcome our Chispa partners who are here tonight. As we celebrate environmental leadership this evening, we also want to take a moment to remember those environmental champions we have lost over the past year. We honor them for their service to our state and to our cause. We want to pay tribute in particular to Louise Dunlap, the great Senator Mike Miller, Senators Barbara Hoffman and Jack Lapidus, and Delegate Hank Heller, no relation. Please see your program for more information about these champions. I also want to acknowledge and thank all current and former Maryland LCV and Education Fund board members. We value them for envisioning and working for a better Maryland. Would all past and present board members of the C4 and the C3 please stand to be recognized. Maryland LCV started this event 20 years ago to honor and celebrate Maryland's environmental leaders. Since that time, our organization and this event has grown. Thanks to you, this is the largest event in our organization's history in terms of attendees and funds raised, with more than 400 of you hopefully showing up, but at least having registered to show up. We appreciate our many sponsors, in particular, for their support of our work and for enabling us to hold this event this evening. We especially want to thank Orsted for their title sponsorship of tonight's event. Orsted employees, please stand right now to be recognized. In addition, we want to recognize the support of our climate champion sponsors who helped also to make tonight's event possible. Hannon Armstrong, US Wind, Mike and Trish Davis, Ed Hatcher and Angie Cannon, and Jenny Stanley. Would you all please stand to be recognized? We also thank our sustainability leader sponsors, the Campbell Foundation, Flywheel, MGM National Harbor, Bay Point Wealth, Bill and Chris Huffnell, Maris St. Cyr and Sam Bleacher, Kristen and Jeff Eckel, and Don and Kathy McMurray. And a big shout out as well to all our other sponsors at the Green Advocate, Eco Hero, and Changemaker partner levels. Thank you so much for your support. And now the fun part, we turn to the awards portion of tonight's program. I first would like to honor all of the LCV's past awardees, whose environmental leadership has been a true inspiration to our work. Please see your program for a list of our past awardees But if you are one of them, please stand now to be recognized. And now for our 2021 awards ceremony. First, Legislator of the Year. Maryland LCV's Legislator of the Year awardees are selected based on leadership and commitment to promote and pass equitable laws and policies for clean water, healthy air, and a resilient climate. Previous awardees include Senator Paul Pinsky, whom I saw here earlier, Delegate Mark Corman, and Delegate Brooke Learman, among others. I am very pleased to announce that this year's Maryland LCV's Legislator of the Year award goes to Senator Cory Mcrae. You can read right along with me if you'd like. Actually, you should be reading this. Senator Mcrae grew up right here in Baltimore and was elected to represent the 45th Legislative District in the Maryland State Senate in 2018. Since that time, he has been named a legislator to watch by the Daily Record and Maryland Matters. I am also proud to say that Senator Mcrae has a lifetime environmental score of 97 from Maryland LCV. That's out of 100. Happy when my kids get that grade. He is our 2021 Legislator of the Year in recognition of his leadership as primary sponsor, along with 2019 Legislator of the Year Brooke Learman, of the Transit Safety and Investment Act. This bill was a top priority for Maryland LCV because of its dual benefit. First, to low-income communities and communities of color that are dependent on safe and reliable transit systems. And second, the environment, by helping to take cars off the road and reduce air pollution. The bill provided sorely needed funds to improve Maryland's transit system, which is actually among the least reliable systems in the country by many measures. During a tough legislative session where advocates were limited by remote access due to COVID, Senator Mcrae stepped in and became the chief advocate in the Budget and Taxation Committee, and, working with Senate leadership, assured a unanimous vote out of the committee, passage in the Senate, and ultimately approval by the General Assembly of this key environmental bill. Thank you for your leadership, Senator Mcrae, and on behalf of Maryland LCV's board and staff, congratulations on being named our 2021 Legislator of the Year.
Say a few words.
Sure.
First, just thank you. And if I could just take this opportunity to say to Kim, and as you know, when I first got that call, I did not expect that that was what the call was about, but I say thank you for your leadership. I say to Kristen, to Danielle, to your entire team, thank you for their leadership. And as Lynn has stated, just the intentionality of being right here in Baltimore City, I say thank you for your leadership. Lynn, I see a number of my colleagues here, and Senator Pinsky, I think about the past recipients, and when I looked at the list of when it was coming, and I think about Mark Corman, I think about Brooke Learman, I think about Cheryl Kagan, and I think about all my colleagues, but everyone knows that with reward comes responsibility. So I say to you, Senator Pinsky, I look forward to making sure that we carry on that mantle and making sure that I clearly understand what that responsibility looks like. So thank you. When I think about my 188 colleagues, no matter whether they were for or against, I think that they make it better. I think that they push you to work harder. But the reality is that no one person does anything. It takes many people to get things done. So to my colleagues, I say thank you. Last but not least, they gave us 2 minutes. I think this is one of the most important, is the advocates. You know, I think I work hard, but it's the advocates that push me to work harder. It's the advocates that say that the constituents need it. It's the people like Brian O'Malley that say, hey, then when you think you knew enough, you don't know enough. You have to push yourself. Make sure that you're ready for the floor. Make sure that you're ready for the committee debate. Make sure that you're ready for what's there for you. So to Brian, to Josh, to Danielle, to Kristen, to so many advocates, Johnny, that push us each and every day, I say thank you. To each and everyone here, I say thank you, thank you, thank you for this opportunity. It was not expected. I'm very appreciative, and I don't know how to continue that appreciative, but I'm going to do it the best way that I know how to do, which is work. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mcrae. And now for the John V. Kabler Environmental Leadership Award. This award is presented by Maryland LCV to recognize an outstanding environmental leader or organization that exemplifies, the lifelong dedication of one of our lifelong founders, John V. Kabler. I'm pleased to announce that this year's Kabler Award goes to Dr. Sakobi Wilson. No, please, stand up here. I'm not going to let you get away without, reading your history. Dr. Wilson is an environmental health scientist and national expert on environmental justice issues. He's an associate professor with the Maryland Institute for Applied Environmental Health and the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics at the University of Maryland College Park's School of Public Health. Dr. Wilson has 15 years of experience as an environmental health scientist and has partnered with community-based organizations across the country on environmental justice issues, including environmental racism. Closer to home, Dr. Wilson has been an advisor and partner of Maryland LCV on a number of projects aimed at raising awareness and eliminating environmental and public health disparities among Black and Brown communities. Thank you for your leadership, Dr. Wilson, and congratulations on being selected by Maryland LCV's board and staff as our 2021 Kabler Environmental Leader. Did you want to say a few words?
A couple words. Thank you. As the senator said, I wasn't expecting my award either. So good things come in surprises. I'll take my 2 minutes to really, again, thank LCV for this award. It was definitely a surprise. And use this moment to talk about the challenge that we have when it comes to environmental issues in the state of Maryland across the country. As was stated, I do environmental justice work. So it's really about how we fight for communities that are overburdened by hazards and don't have access to infrastructure, right? Environmental justice is about where we live, where we work, where we play, where we pray, where we learn. It's about the environment that's local, that's everyday, that's proximal. When I think about environmental issues, I think about food, faith, family, health, and jobs. How are we connecting to those things that are important to people? Everyday basic needs, right? When you think about environmental justice, I would not be doing my job if I didn't talk about the 30th anniversary of the first People of Color National Environmental Summit. That anniversary is next month. That's what the 17 principles of environmental justice were codified. So you think about those 17 principles. They talk about Mother Earth, human rights. It talks about sustainability, protecting resources and conservation for future generations. But it also talks about being against war, being against nuclear war, being against nuclear waste. It talks about occupational impacts, right? It talks about making sure that we are protecting our children. We're protecting the future generations. So I like to say, how are you going to put America first, folks? You're going to put your kids first. How we can make sure in Maryland that the kids are protected and living in safe environments. Children of color, LCV, as y'all know, disproportionately ride diesel buses. Diesel exhaust, short-term exposure, impacts their coordination, concentration, and focus. How do we expect kids to learn if they're riding them buses that are pollution intensive? So we have to electrify our buses. We have to deal with goods moving in Baltimore and electrify our big trucks. We have to make sure the least of us, have access to renewable energy and power, but not just have access, not just have jobs. We have to create new economic opportunity structures. So we have a coalition in this region called the New Mid-Atlantic Environmental Economic Justice Coalition. I like the acronym MAGIC. The whole idea behind MAGIC is putting the economy back into the hands of the people. So LCV, how are we going to put the economy back in the hands of the people? LCV, how are we going to make sure that economy is community-centered? LCV, how are we going to make sure that economy is justice-focused? LCV, how are we going to make sure that economy is restorative, reparative? LCV. That's the challenge of the day. When we think about climate change, that's the challenge of the day, that makes sure everyone has opportunity, that we address the differential impacts of climate change, that we make sure people have access to infrastructure, whether it be food, jobs, healthcare, transportation, good housing. Not unjust housing, but just housing. Not unjust food, but just food. Not unjust healthcare, but just healthcare. Not unjust transit, but just transit. Not unjust climate resilient infrastructure, just climate resilient infrastructure. I'm getting excited. Thank you for the 2 minutes, but you got my message.
Now you know why I love my job. A lot of inspiration from these folks, and I want to personally thank Lynn, Senator Mcrae, and Corey Wilson, or Sokobi Wilson, for their leadership. It's inspiring. Maryland LCV recently went through a very comprehensive strategic planning process. It was a year-long process, and it was some of the hardest work that I've ever done. From there, we developed a new focus and new energy to boldly address two urgent and interwoven challenges that are facing our communities: climate change and racial injustice. So what does that mean in practice? It means you can continue to rely on Maryland LCV to build effective partnerships. You can continue to rely on Maryland LCV to leverage our unique ability to hold Maryland elected officials accountable. You can rely on us because we have sharpened our focus on pushing for real climate solutions and empowering the communities that are disproportionately impacted by pollution. Tonight, we are fortunate to have a panel of speakers who will bring these issues to light. They bring to the table expertise from the public, the private, and the political sectors. They deal with issues as complex as clean energy technology, financial investments, legislative policymaking, environmental health science, and community activism, all of which combine to be the key ingredients for addressing climate crisis in Maryland. Our goal through this short panel discussion tonight is to highlight the opportunities in front of us and to emphasize the urgency to take action. And we also hope you gain some insight into what you can do on a personal level. We are honored that Kelly Speaks Bachman, Acting Assistant Secretary at the U.S. Department of Energy, was willing to be our keynote speaker this evening. In her leadership role at the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy, Kelly is focused on creating American leadership in the transition to a clean energy economy. Maryland is important in the clean energy transition and important to Kelly because she is a Maryland resident. So although she had an unavoidable last-minute conflict and cannot join us in person this evening, she recorded comments especially for us. So let's take a look.
Hi, everyone. I am Kelly Speaks Bachman, and I lead the Department of Energy's Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. We are hard at work every day, driving the research, development, the demonstration, and deployment of the innovative technologies that are going to help us achieve the bold energy and climate goals that are laid out by the Biden-Harris administration, transitioning the United States to a 100% clean energy economy by 2050, and ensuring that the opportunities in the clean energy economy benefit all Americans with no communities left behind. This work depends on the vision of community leaders on the ground, including all of you who are advancing solutions every day to tackle the climate crisis. I'm only sorry that I can't join you in person to celebrate an amazing 20 years. The Maryland League of Conservation Voters works at the intersection of both addressing climate emergency and ensuring the environmental justice for communities that have for too long not had a seat at the table when major decisions are made that impact their daily lives and the health of their children. As a longtime Marylander myself and a former Maryland state employee with the Energy Administration and the Public Service Commission, I wanted to personally thank all of the environmental leaders and change makers in attendance for their vision and their tenacity. That includes corporate citizens like Ørsted, who are advancing breakthroughs in wind energy across the state, and Hannon Armstrong, who's bringing private capital to climate solutions. Legislators like Senator Mcrae, who's receiving well-deserved honors from the LCV for his support of environmental leadership for frontline and fence-line communities. And community advocates like Dr. Sakabi Wilson and his support of environmental justice at the grassroots level. And so many more that I just can't even mention today. Everyone, your work here is more urgent now than ever. As you've likely seen, the United Nations recently released a report on the growing stakes of the climate crisis, calling this moment a code red for humanity. So we need all of you to continue this hard and sometimes thankless but essential work of advocacy. You have earned this chance to celebrate. And then it's time for us to get back to work, because the work that we are carrying forth on behalf of President Biden can't be achieved in Washington alone. It requires the sustained partnership and the support of community leaders like all of you. We have a lot of work to do, and we cannot do it alone. But as I look at the accomplishments of your honorees and your attendees, I'm more confident than ever that we have the determination, we have the tools, and we have the resolve to build a net zero emission future and create an opportunity for millions of Americans. So I look forward to working with all of you in close partnership. Thank you so much, and really have a wonderful celebration.
We're going to have a little bit of a panel discussion here, and it includes our two awardees, Corey Mcrae, Dr. Sakabi Wilson, and two business leaders, David Hardy and Jeff Eckel. David Hardy is the Chief Executive Officer of Ørsted Offshore North America, a global leader in offshore wind energy. David is developing Ørsted's portfolio of North American offshore wind projects in a way that will ensure the launch of a new American industry, including revitalizing port communities and creating highly skilled jobs across the country. In Maryland, Ørsted is building a cleaner, greener future with more clean energy and green jobs through offshore wind. Jeff Eckel is Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Hannon Armstrong, a leading investor in climate solutions with a headquarters actually located in Annapolis. Under Jeff's leadership, Hannon Armstrong has become globally recognized for its pioneering approach to sustainable investing, providing capital to leading companies in renewable energy, energy efficiency, and other sustainable infrastructure markets. So, thank you for joining me. Getting organized here.
You're welcome.
All right. I'm hoping that we're going to have time for. Don't hit the awardees. Thank you. So, for the four panelists, here's a question. Taking into consideration that this is a very savvy audience, they understand climate change impacts, they actually believe in climate change, and they understand the causes and impacts and the broader environmental threats that are facing Maryland. So given the sophistication of this audience, I'd like for each of you to talk a little bit about what is something that even this savvy audience might not understand about your work and its connection to fighting climate change and environmental injustice in Maryland. And I'm going to start with Corey.
Thank you, Kim. As I look around the audience, I see a number of my friends. I see Shannon, I see Brooke, and then I said, what is something that the audience may not know about me? And I think about how personal this work is for me. I'm born and raised in the city. I went to our public schools. I've driven our buses. I haven't drove the bus, but I actually rode the bus. I've seen the lead paint issues that plague our city. I've seen a number of the issues that plague our city. And when things are personal, it takes on a different level there. And I think about the sense of urgency. And Kim, I can think about being in the 1100 block of Darley Avenue. And I can remember knocking on doors. And I can remember Mr. Allen and asking him, do you have any concerns or issues? And Kim, you know what? This is a World War II veteran. This is a person that gave 40 years of their life to the city of Baltimore, working for the city of Baltimore. And he looked up and down the street and he said, Corey, I just want one damn tree. And I looked and I couldn't believe, sometimes we take these things for granted, sometimes we forget, but on the 1100 block of Darley Avenue, there wasn't one damn tree. And I remember calling Blue Water Baltimore. I remember calling Baltimore Tree Trust to make sure that we can address the issue. But that level of urgency has to happen in every neighborhood, no matter whether you're in Berea, South Clifton Park, Park Heights, no matter what, Anne Arundel County, Montgomery County. We have them across our state, throughout our city, and across the country, and that level of urgency is needed each and every day. How I like to close is that I got to work on the bill with you all. You talked about it, Senate Bill 199, House Bill 114. That bill was vetoed. And when I talk about that urgency, we have to make sure collectively we go together and override that veto because there's so many people counting on us. Thank you again, Kim.
Jacoby.
So I'm a member of the National Environmental Justice Advisory Council. I'm also an incoming member of the EPA Science Advisory Board. I'm having a lot of conversations at the federal level. Just talked to Cecilia Martinez, second in charge of CEQ, yesterday about Justice 40. So President Biden's executive orders on climate change and executive orders on racial equity. So Justice 40 executive order is 14008. You have a climate change executive order, I think 13995. It's another executive order 13985. Another executive order 13990. Those are both climate change executive orders and racial equity executive orders. We're not going to be able to address climate change if we don't address racial inequity. We have to make sure, if you think about the fossil fuel infrastructure, right, dirty fossil fuels, they disproportionately at all stages when it comes to extraction, transport, processing, combustion, waste, disproportionately impact communities of color, right? You can look around Curtis Bay area, the Willowbird incinerator. There was a fight against the Energy Answer incinerator. You can look at goods movement in Dundalk. We need to electrify all of our ports, because you have greenhouse gas emissions and co-pollutants that cause asthma attacks, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, stroke, y'all, cancer, birth defects, birth rate, infant mortality. It impacts mortality overall and leads to a lower life expectancy. That's particular matter. You have other pollutants too. So if you live in communities that are impacted by pollution, not just greenhouse gases, but co-pollutants, it impacts your health. But then the greenhouse gases, thank you for the minute, because I'm a long-winded talker. The greenhouse gases, Corey talked about it, the trees, heat issues, heat waves are hell for the poor and the elderly. Baltimore has the highest rates of heat-related morbidity and mortality. Why? Because you don't have air conditioning, because you have a lot of asphalt and concrete, and you don't have trees. We need green infrastructure, right, in these communities. That's a solution. We need to make sure they also have a climate resilient infrastructure, they said. That's a solution. We have to make sure we're getting away from dirty fossil fuels. We got to get incinerator fuel or trash out of the RPS. Y'all know that, right? That needs to be passed. We need to pass Senator Penske. You in the audience, I know I got like 10 seconds. We got to pass the updated version of the Climate Solution Now Act. We also got to pass a Justice 40 bill for the state of Maryland to make sure those dollars are getting to these communities. That's how you get to racial equity, that's how you get to climate equity, and that's how you get to climate justice.
David.
Well, these guys are hard acts to follow, I have to say. Thanks for inviting me here, Kim, and congratulations, Senator Mcrae and Dr. Wilson. As you alluded to, Ørsted's probably maybe not a household name that everyone knows about here in the U.S. It's a Danish company, but we actually are, I guess, one of the true believers. And I, as a North American CEO, am definitely one of the true believers. You talk about making it personal; it's personal to me. We built the first offshore wind farm in 1991, 30 years ago. And we've been building offshore wind farms for 30 years. We're the world's market leader. We have projects in Europe and in Asia Pacific, and we actually have the one spinning operational project up in Block Island that we own, and we've got the largest portfolio of projects here in North America with over 4.1 gigawatts. People don't always speak energy, but 4.1 gigawatts of offshore wind is probably around 2 million homes, something in that order of magnitude. So quite a bit of work that we've been doing, billions of dollars of infrastructure. You asked what don't people know? What people might not know is it's really freaking hard. It's very, very complex. This is a nascent industry with a lot of challenges at the federal level, at the state level, at the local communities. And as I said, Ørsted, we're the true believers. We really want to do it right. So we want to bring the jobs to the U.S. We want to create a U.S. supply chain. We want to build equitable opportunities for people, and we're investing in STEM. 10 million in Maryland towards STEM training to help people transition into this industry. We are working on creating union jobs. We're working with the ENGOs to build the projects in a sustainable way with respect to all the aspects that go into building an offshore wind, the mammal life, the seabed floor, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's a really hard job. I spent the last week in Denmark at our headquarters, and over the weekend and the first 2 days of this week in Greece. It became public today. I don't know if it's mainstream media, but we're working in our current solicitation on bringing a submarine cable manufacturing facility to Sparrows Point. And the company that we're working with is a Greece-based company called Hellenic Cables, and I was out in Greece seeing their facility, talking with their management, working on this deal. I'll just end to say that one of the things that I think is a big differentiator of the way Ørsted looks at these opportunities is that we own and operate. We're here for the long term. These are 30-plus year projects. The commitments we make, we keep. And because it's so hard, we want to do it right because this is our business. And we may be an international company. I may not be based in Maryland, but we want to be local and we want to do it right for the local community. So maybe I'll just leave it with that.
Okay. Thank you. And Jeff?
Terrific. This is on. No, here we go. Jeff Eckel, Hannon Armstrong. And if people don't know Ørsted, they don't know Hannon Armstrong either. We're a capital solutions provider for climate change. We're a 40-year-old company that went public 8 years ago. We invest about $2 billion a year all around North America in largely three types of projects: energy efficiency, renewable energy, and sustainable infrastructure. The energy efficiency projects are it's about $750 million we've invested in Maryland, largely in federal and state and local facilities. A lot of schools, Baltimore County schools, Baltimore City schools, as well as virtually every federal facility. And basically, these are pay from savings. Governments take no risk. We also do a lot of residential solar, and that's an area that I think has lots of room to improve in terms of equity. Right now it goes to high FICO score consumers. That's an area where there's lots of work being done to bring it back to more regular folks. And community solar, which is, if you don't have a rooftop, you can still get solar through community solar. We've got 26 projects we've invested in Maryland in, I would say 9 counties, all across the state. And environmental restoration and stream water remediation, as we saw with the terrific wind and water that came down last night, that water's got to go somewhere, and it will go somewhere. It's just not going to the right places. So with our partners, we've been able to do a lot of environmental upgrades so that water is evacuated to where it needs to go without polluting the Chesapeake Bay. Two things people don't know about us. About 3 decades ago, we pioneered the use of a public-private partnership for federal energy efficiency projects. I call it the greatest public-private partnership since the Roman aqueducts. It's about $10 billion of capital that's been invested. We've done about $5 billion of that. And basically, these projects use private sector engineering expertise. They save the U.S. Treasury money, they reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and they create jobs in all 50 states. It's truly a terrific program. The Comprehensive Conservation Finance Act that passed unanimously in the Senate last year is based on many of those same principles, and we would be very enthusiastic to see that bill go forward and become law this year. The second thing you don't know about Hannon Armstrong, and maybe I didn't know this, people who care passionately about climate change, they care very passionately, equally as passionately about social justice. And after George Floyd's murder, I saw such a sea change in the way our conversations well, we weren't in the office, but virtually were happening. This became the focal point of the Hannon Armstrong Foundation, which is in its second year now, and donating to the intersection of climate change and equity. And we're planting trees in Baltimore is one of the projects. But what is clear among our group is we haven't found exactly the right way to do it yet. But there isn't anybody on the foundation team that is not hard at work looking at it. So we have a great group here tonight. And part of it is their interest in how do we work in Baltimore? And very proud of this group. So with that, I'll cede the mic.
Thank you. So my second question is a question that actually Maryland LCV gets a lot as a membership advocacy group. And this is that given the magnitude of the climate change crisis, the emissions that are coming out of the U.S. alone, let alone China and India and the rest of the world, why should a little state like Maryland invest much into climate change solutions? And why should we as individuals really take personal action to make a difference? And I'm going to actually give the first answer to see if David can shed some light on this one.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Maybe I'll start a little bit macro, and then I'll bring it a little closer to home. If you think about Ørsted, which again, I don't think everyone knows too much about Ørsted, but Ørsted used to be called Danish Oil and Natural Gas. The acronym DONG didn't really resonate so well in the U.S., but it was the name of the company for many, many years, and it was one of the most carbon-intensive utilities in Europe, actually. And about 8-10 years ago, a small group of senior executives at Ørsted made a decision to completely pivot out of oil and gas and into green energy. And today we're 100% renewable energy company, one of the largest in the world. We like to call ourselves a green super major. Thank you. And so I think about those, and it seems kind of maybe obvious now, but 10 years ago it was risky to kind of make that decision and make that transition. But a group of individuals made that decision, and look at where we are today. We're the most sustainable energy company in the world, market leader in offshore wind. We do onshore wind, solar storage, investing billions of dollars in the U.S. economy and creating a transition for middle-class Americans into a new industry, creating a new industry, building infrastructure up and down the East Coast. So if you think about the individuals, that's a perfect example. And we all every day have the opportunity to influence those around us. And quite frankly, as consumers, we can have a lot of influence on the big consumer brands and demanding green electricity, and that will drive the transition further. So I'll stop there. Thanks.
Great point. Jeff.
Jobs, jobs, jobs. Every time we invest capital in an energy project or an environmental restoration project, construction jobs are created and long-term permanent jobs are created. When I look at the group from Hannon Armstrong here, we've got people from Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Howard, Montgomery PG, of course Anne Arundel and Queen Anne's. We're creating jobs in Annapolis that didn't exist 5 years, 10 years ago. And then if you look at companies like Ørsted, US Wind, we've got a client here from GridPoint, Summit Ridge, which is doing the community solar projects for us. We have some phenomenal new companies. These are companies that, I don't know that you had employees here 5 years ago, right? Maybe years ago? And you're going to have a bunch of them, a lot more in 5 or 10 years because the offshore wind resources in the mid-Atlantic. It's just not hard to imagine that every company that's represented here is going to employ significantly more people in 3, 5, 10 years. But there's no guarantee those jobs should be in Maryland or even that they get created at all. We could be in other states, but a constructive political backdrop in Maryland is very helpful for job creation in Maryland. There's a reason things are happening in Maryland and perhaps not in Virginia. And that is absolutely why people should be focused on things like the Comprehensive Conservation Finance Act. That will create jobs. The private sector is just ready to go, whether it's Green Vest or Environmental Impact Partners, to engineer those projects. RES, I know there's a couple other companies here tonight. Engineer those projects, build them, put people to work, and we're going to save people money and create jobs and have superior environmental outcomes. That's why you should care. Jobs.
Thank you. And Corey?
Thank you. Kim asked the question, why should Maryland be striving? Why should Maryland be fighting? And it's one reason for me when I think about it. It's them 4 children that I have at home. And I think about Kennedy, I think about Reagan, I think about CJ, and I think about Bryson. I think about all of our young people across the city of Baltimore and across the state of Maryland. And I know that each and every one of us have a responsibility to leave this place better than when we came. And then I think about those 2 girls, 14 and 12 right now, Stephanie, and I think about how environmentally conscious they are at this moment. And I'm thinking at 12 and 14, I'm not sure that I was there yet. But the reality is that our young people are watching our actions and they're watching our lack of actions. While they don't have the ability to take a vote in the Maryland General Assembly at this moment, they're watching those that lead, those that sit on their hands, and those that take the wrong actions. So each and every day that I wake up, that's what I hold at my heart is my young people, my children, and making sure that I make good decisions. Thank you.
Sokobi.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think we should be doing this in Maryland. Maryland can be a leader. Maryland can be a leader for many reasons. So you look at Western Maryland, traditional oil and gas, wells, right? Marcellus Shale. We stopped fracking, y'all. We banned fracking, but we didn't ban frack gas. It's good, but we didn't ban frack gas. We got more work to do, right, on the pipelines. Yeah. That's the work left to be done, okay? Yeah. Eastern Shore, we got chicken farms. Industrial chicken farms is a huge issue. That contributes to Chesapeake Bay. That's more work that needs to be done. Greenhouse gas emissions from the animals themselves, right? From the poops and toots, right? You also have the fact that the transport of the animals, right? The big trucks, the transport. We got to bring food to the people. We had communities in Maryland dealing with food improvement zones is the positive term in Baltimore. We also call it food deserts, food swamps. Other folks call it food apartheid. Folks don't have access to food infrastructure. How can we build food cities, right? How can we build I like to call it ecotopias, or my other term, make it Wakanda real for some folks to understand what I'm talking about. Bring that technology, bring food, building smart cities, but making them green, equitable. We can do that in Maryland, right? You have what's happening in Prince George's County when it comes to climate change issues. What's happening in Baltimore? What's happening in Southern Maryland? We have climate change impacts and issues, sea level rise across this state. That's why. Also, geographically, we are near the federal government, right? Yeah. There's some opportunity there to both bidirectionally get something from the federal government, and they learn from us. We also are in the region where we have surrounding sister states that we are very similar with culturally, geographically, politically. So we can lead with Delaware and Virginia, right? We can lead with D.C. That's why. And then as Senator said, he talked about his kids. I have an 11-year-old, Ariana, who knows more about climate change and environmental justice than I do. So she's a very powerful young person who corrects me all the time about my junky man cave. So, but our kids are important, right? So how are we investing in STEM? How are we investing in bringing technology, climate solutions, they're technological solutions. We have companies here that are talking about those things. That's the future. Maryland has the opportunity to bring these tech solutions to the community, to the people. And I'll end and said, as an individual, we have to make sure those front line and fifth line voices are really pushing for change when it comes to our legislature and fighting for climate justice, environmental justice. So I think as individuals, we all should be working in partnerships with community-based organizations, with EJ groups and climate groups who are working on the front line and fence line, right? Those voices are not heard enough. I mentioned an earlier comment about the 17 principles of environmental justice. One of those principles is self-determination. It's basically communities speak with their own voice. So how can we make sure those voices are being heard more as we move forward with our climate future? Thank you.
I'm going to go off script. Sorry, staff. But I've got the microphone. This is an incredible group of people with such diverse background and so many diverse thoughts. And I would like to give us just a chance if there's a burning question out there for them. So we're going to take a couple minutes and take a question or two. So here's your chance. And I know that a lot of you out there, and I know you're not shy. So. Oh, yes. Let's see. Do you want to run up here? Sorry. This is all ad-libbed.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you very much for the putting this event on, having these wonderful people out here to come speak about these issues. I think it's very important. My name's Human Haydarian. I'm the new Fair Farms campaign manager, which is a campaign from Waterkeepers Chesapeake, for those who don't know. And my question for everyone on the stage, including you as well, is what are you all doing for the next generation of farmers, of young farmers coming up who want to do good work and provide the food and serve the people and serve their communities in Maryland? And not only to take care of the environment, but also to have a livelihood where they can make money and invest in their communities and invest for their families as well, for the next generation after them. And that especially is for farmers, BIPOC farmers, young black and brown farmers who want to get into to farming as well. Thank you.
I'll jump in. I can jump in real quick on that question. I think, food is culture, food is power, food is wealth, food is health, right? I mean, I mentioned it earlier, talking about foodtopias. You got the Black Yield Institute that's in Baltimore. You have a lot of entities that are really trying to bring, like I said, bring food to the cities. I think we need to invest in sustainable agriculture, regenerative agriculture. I just was on a biogas facility discussion I talked about chicken farms earlier, that we shouldn't be supporting biogas plants in Maryland or Delaware or in North Carolina. We should be supporting real family farms. So those subsidies that are going to big corporations, those dollars, which are taxpayers' dollars, should be going to educate the next generation of BIPOC farmers. You have the USDA agreement with trying to rectify some of the decades of inequities in funding going to black farmers. So I think there's a lot that could be done around that. I think in Maryland, we need to see our Department of Agriculture work with our Department of Housing to actually, work together to have community gardens, urban agriculture, aquaponics, hydroponics. I said green infrastructure, green roofs, green walls, blue roofs, blue walls, all that together, talking about food, energy, and water, right? The food, energy, water nexus. That's a way to address the lack of diversity, get food to the people, address the energy issues, address the empowerment issues, and make sure that we are dealing with climate change at the same time. If y'all can fund that, make it happen. Let's do it.
Yeah, Jeff.
I want to go to Western Maryland, Garrett County, working with a young family farm out there. And what I'm learning is every farmer needs a side gig. Farming isn't paying right now. This family, they each have jobs and 2 kids. And the young man operates a Cat D11, which is the world's largest bulldozer. And he's scraping coal in surface mines in Allegheny County. And yes, there are still very active surface mines in Western Maryland, and business is booming. He hates it. He hates how he looks when he gets home. He hates what he's doing to the land that he loves and where he lives. And he wants to make a change. And we're working with him to take his incredible big equipment operator skills and turn that into a solar installation and operation business. And he's super excited about it. And he gets to stay on the farm. Otherwise, he's got to leave. And that's not a good opportunity for him. So farming is essential in the state, and it's got to evolve rapidly so people can make a living out of it.
Thank you. And I'm gonna, unless there's a burning, I'm gonna see if there's another question. Unless you guys have.
I'll answer when we get another.
Okay. And yes, Charlie.
I have a question. I think everybody can hear me, but what I'd like to ask them is looking at every other thing that you've done strategy to reduce climate change, carbon dioxide. What are we going to do about our food that we eat, which actually growing meat is just under transportation for putting CO2 in the atmosphere?
Jeff, I'm going to start with you. Oh,
The question is what to do about carbon emissions from meat sector. That's actually how I got into this business more than 40 years ago. I'd put a price on carbon, and that will trickle through the supply chain. It will make meat marginally more expensive, and I would dividend the proceeds from that carbon tax out to American citizens making less than $400,000 is the current legislative proposal, so that anybody who is using the market forces, anybody who's paying the tax is going to get a rebate that's in excess of the amount that they have incurred in higher costs.
I still want to lean in on Human's question in reference to the farming piece of it. You know, Human, we were able to have fair farms out to my respective district with a Tia Wells and the Backyard Base Camp. So just thank you for your leadership and thank you for the things that you all do. But what have we done? We've got a lot of urban farmers that's growing in the city of Baltimore. So it wasn't looked at the city of Baltimore as farming from that perspective. And I was also able to get my education from that perspective. So Human, the first thing that we did was a Tia Wells is in our capital budget, and that's reflective in that 2020 capital budget. But one of the things that I got to learn about was soil conservation districts. And I didn't realize that every county across the state of Maryland had a soil conservation district except for the city of Baltimore. And what we did with that was you realize that soil conservation districts are the technical assistance for our farmers and making sure that, so this year we had legislation within there to make sure that the city of Baltimore can have enabling language to be a soil conservation district so that each and every urban farmer in the city of Baltimore don't have to go outside of our jurisdiction to get that help. They can stay right here at home.
Just
and David.
Yeah, just quickly for me, I think it might sound like a pretty far bridge from offshore wind to farming and methane emissions from cattle, but it's actually not. The root of many next generation technologies that will help solve some of these other challenges starts with green electrons, and offshore wind is one of the ways to produce a lot of green electrons at a low cost. The capacity factor of an offshore wind is double that of an onshore solar project. So for every megawatt that we produce, our intermittency is half as much as solar, for example. And when you have green electrons, then you can make green hydrogen, and with green hydrogen, you can make green ammonia, and with green ammonia, you can have a sustainable fertilizer for farmers. With green electrons, you can make green electricity, which you can power hydroponic plants and next generation farming. With green electrons, you can and some methane capture. You can fuse hydrogen and methane to create some green fuels, et cetera. So green electrons really are a foundational block to many of the broader challenges besides just electrification, which is where we're starting. We're putting green electrons on the grid. We can use green electrons to do a lot of other things, electrolyzers and creating green fuels and green fertilizer, green lots of things. So.
Thank you. So let's all give these guys a round of applause. I've got some good news. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and it's here. So we're going to get going here, but a couple quick things. I just want to summarize this a little bit, and just these words that really spoke to me. It's personal. It's urgent. It's about our children. It's about creating jobs. It takes passion. We have to address racial injustice if we're going to address climate. We have to be true believers. Consumers hold a lot of impact. They have a lot of impact. Constructive politics is the backbone of the work that we need to do. We have personal responsibility, and the solutions lie in raising voices. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what Maryland LCV is all about. And I am really proud of the work that we do and having you as partners. I am also very proud of the elected officials that are with us tonight. And I am going to run through a long list, but I'll read really fast, I promise, of those that are in attendance. Some folks, unfortunately, had to cancel, like Senator Van Hollen let us know last night that he had a really important vote. So we said, okay. All righty, here we go. And hold the applause till the end, because this is quite a list. Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosch, our former governor Martin O'Malley, Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski, Anne Arundel County Executive Stuart Pittman, Senate President Bill Ferguson, Senator Pam Beidel, Senator Cheryl Kagan, Senator Ben Kramer, Senator Corey Mcrae, Senator Paul Pinsky, Senator Hedelman's here, Delegate, oh man, I should get my glasses, Regina Boyce, Delegate Forbes, Delegate Charkoudian, Delegate John Carden, Delegate Stephanie Smith, Delegate Jared Solomon. We also have Montgomery County Councilman Tom Hucker, former Maryland Attorney General Doug Gansler, former U.S. Education Secretary John King, Wes Moore, former U.S. Secretary Tom Perez, Mike Rosenbaum. You might want to check in with them. I think those guys have something going on they might want to talk to you about. Mayor Tim Adams, Delegate Brooke Learman. You might want to talk to those two. Don Giles. What am I saying? Frederick Councilman Kai Hagan, and candidates for delegate Vince Andrews, Mark Edelson, McCollum, Becca Nyberg, and William Reed. So I'm sorry if I missed anybody, but welcome, and we're glad you're here. So yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. So these folks represent us, right? They want to hear from you. Oh, excuse me. I also have to give a shout out to one of my direct bosses, Gene Karpinski, who is here. Thank you for coming all the way. Head of LCV National. So one of the best things you can do, and we're going to put this up on the screen, By being here tonight, you become an LCV member, which is something you should mention at every cocktail party because it goes a long way. And then what you need to do is to text Changemakers to 1-844-422-0042. I'll read it. Is that up? No. Alrighty, we'll try it again. 1-844-422-0042. I'm seeing those that are not doing this, but I will make a note of that. So if you text Changemaker to that, we will then be able to occasionally send you texts, keep you informed about actions, make sure that you're informed about our work. That's it. The next thing is to grab a mover and shaker cocktail, talk to all these people about being a change maker and how to do it and to fight climate change in Maryland, and enjoy the next couple hours here on the beautiful water and with a nice breeze. Thanks for coming.